Who holds liability for an AI decision made at 600 kilometers? Which legal regime governs data processed above every jurisdiction? Who authorizes the AI agent to act? The GBSI Act compliance deadline is 29 July 2026. It governs infrastructure supporting space objects. It does not specify the accountability chain for AI agents at altitude. That gap is structural. The capital to close it at scale has now been raised. Which of those four questions does your board have an answer for?
Let's get into it.
In 2006, Amazon Web Services launched EC2 and put a data center on the internet. Every transaction was logged, audited, and governed. This is the Hamburger Report. I'm Andreas Hamburger, Enterprise Architect and Technology Strategist, Wellington. In 2006, Amazon Web Services launched EC2 and put a data center on the internet. Every transaction was logged, audited, and governed. This is the Hamburger Report. I'm Andreas Hamburger, Enterprise Architect and Technology Strategist, Wellington. On 12 June 2026, SpaceX listed on Nasdaq at a valuation of $1.77 trillion, the largest initial public offering on record. 3 days earlier, at Bastrop, Texas, SpaceX unveiled the AI-1 satellite, the first orbital compute satellite design the company has shown publicly. Flight hardware, not a rendering, not a roadmap. Read those two facts together, and the question crystallizes that neither the Nasdaq filing nor the Bastrop reveal attempted to answer. When an AI agent running on orbital compute at 600 kilometers makes a consequential decision, who is accountable? The securities filing does not address it. The AI-1 specification sheet does not address it. No jurisdiction has. Space AI Monday has traced 3 concurrent timelines since the series began. The commercial clock, which measures capital formation and market structure. The regulatory clock, which measures how fast governance catches up. And the orbital clock, which measures the operational reality of compute infrastructure in low Earth orbit. Space AI Monday has traced 3 concurrent timelines since the series began. The commercial clock, which measures capital formation and market structure. The regulatory clock, which measures how fast governance catches up. And the orbital clock, which measures the operational reality of compute infrastructure in low Earth orbit. This week, all 3 moved simultaneously. The commercial clock struck loudest. A $1.77 trillion valuation positions SpaceX among the 5 largest companies ever listed by market capitalization at initial public offering. Net debt stands at approximately $14 billion with a $20 billion bridge loan in place. The retail float is approximately 30%. These are the numbers of a company that has just acquired the capital to build at a scale no private orbital operator has previously been able to sustain. The orbital clock advanced with the AI-1 reveal. Per satellite specifications show approximately 150 kilowatts peak compute per satellite, 120 kilowatts average, and roughly 70 kilowatts per ton at 600 kilometers altitude. The design specifies interchangeable compute providers. Cosmic radiation memory corruption and node-to-ground latency are named as open engineering challenges, not solved problems. This signals that the AI-1 is a design under active development. The satellite hardware has been revealed. It has not been deployed. The Kardashev scale measures civilizational capability by energy use. Applied to corporate infrastructure, it yields a useful analytical frame. At what point does a single entity's control of physical infrastructure become structurally distinct from market competition? The Kardashev scale measures civilizational capability by energy use. Applied to corporate infrastructure, it yields a useful analytical frame. At what point does a single entity's control of physical infrastructure become structurally distinct from market competition? SpaceX commands the world's primary orbital launch infrastructure through Starlink, the world's largest active satellite constellation, and now through the AI-1 design, the first publicly revealed orbital compute flight hardware. The XAI-SpaceX merger means that same entity has a direct stake in the AI inference workload the platform is designed to run. At 600 kilometers, there are no structural separations between the launch, the satellite, the compute, and the AI workload. They are all inside the same corporate boundary. Terrestrial hyperscalers share the physical infrastructure layer with undersea cable operators, backbone carriers, and data center landlords, separate entities with separate governance obligations. At Orbit, that separation does not exist. That is the Corporate Kardashev observation. The concentration is architecturally novel, and no terrestrial regulatory framework was designed for it. Before we go further, the Lethal by Design series is now running Fridays on this channel, examining the accountability gap in military AI and autonomous weapons systems, new episodes every Friday. If you are finding this argument useful, Lethal by Design is the logical next step, link in the description. The accountability gap at 600 kilometers has 4 specific dimensions. The securities filing and the AI1 specification both leave unanswered. Who holds liability when an AI agent running on orbital compute makes an erroneous inference that causes a downstream harm? The accountability gap at 600 kilometers has 4 specific dimensions. The securities filing and the AI1 specification both leave unanswered. Who holds liability when an AI agent running on orbital compute makes an erroneous inference that causes a downstream harm? The filing discloses risks in standard securities language. It does not specify a liability chain for a decision made at altitude. Which legal regime governs the data processed at 600 kilometers? The Cloud Act applies to data held by US-based entities on their servers. Whether that jurisdiction follows the satellite through every jurisdiction it passes over is not established. What notification obligation attaches when an orbital AI system is compromised? The 5-country council LEO satellite communications guidance maps 5 architectural risk segments. It does not specify a notification chain for an AI agent accountability failure at the space segment. Who authorizes the AI agent to act? EA Thursday Chapter 18 established that every agent is a login, and every login needs a delegated authority chain. The terrestrial model provides a framework for delegated authorization. There is no orbital equivalent. The AI1 specification describes interchangeable compute providers. It does not describe an interchangeable accountability chain. Space Mafia's jurisdictional arbitrage concept holds that corporate actors exploiting the governance vacuum left by the 1967 Outer Space Treaty occupy the same structural position as the pirate radio operators who broadcast from ships in international waters in the 1960s, beyond the reach of national law. Space Mafia's jurisdictional arbitrage concept holds that corporate actors exploiting the governance vacuum left by the 1967 Outer Space Treaty occupy the same structural position the pirate radio operators who broadcast from ships in international waters in the 1960s, beyond the reach of national law, using a commons that predates the regulatory frameworks that would otherwise apply. What the AI1 reveal adds is the AI agent layer. A pirate radio station broadcasts from beyond jurisdiction, but a human crew makes the editorial decisions. An orbital AI compute node running autonomous inference does not have a crew. The decision-making layer is algorithmic, operating without a human authorization step for each inference event. That is architecturally distinct from everything the 1967 Outer Space Treaty anticipated. The accountability gap documented here carries a sharper edge in the defense and sovereignty domain. Allied military satellite constellations operate within legal and operational accountability chains tested over decades. The AI1 design introduces a different model, orbital compute with interchangeable providers and no specified accountability chain for New Zealand's obligations under AUKUS Pillar 2 and for Five Eyes intelligence partners. The question of who authorizes and who answers for AI inference at altitude is a specific operational requirement. Chinese counter-satellite capabilities make contested orbit scenarios a planning condition. An orbital AI node whose accountability chain is undefined becomes a compounding vulnerability in that threat model. New Zealand's operational dependency on orbital infrastructure is not hypothetical. International connectivity runs through undersea cables and satellite links, and GNSS signals underpin transport routing, agricultural precision, and financial settlement. New Zealand's operational dependency on orbital infrastructure is not hypothetical. International connectivity runs through undersea cables and satellite links. GNSS signals underpin transport routing, agricultural precision, and financial settlement. The AWS Pacific region concentration means a significant portion of New Zealand government digital services depends on a small number of physical infrastructure operators. 3 questions for New Zealand leaders with enterprise or governance responsibility. Does your AI governance framework extend to orbital compute? Most enterprise AI governance frameworks assume the compute is in a data center with a physical address and a jurisdictional home. An orbital compute supplier has neither. If your framework does not specify a protocol for compute services where jurisdiction is contested, it has a gap that will become commercially relevant. Does your vendor assessment process cover orbital infrastructure concentration? The Corporate Kardashev observation matters for procurement. A single entity controlling launch, constellation, and compute at scale is a supply chain concentration risk that terrestrial cloud procurement processes have not encountered. Is your regulatory posture current for 29 July 2026? The GBSI Act authorization requirement applies to infrastructure supporting space objects. Understanding what that requirement covers and what it does not cover is a compliance governance item that any entity with exposure to space infrastructure should have on its board risk register now. The SpaceX IPO and the AI-1 reveal are not separate events. They are the same event at 2 different layers. The capital formation that makes a capability real and the engineering announcement that shows what the capability looks like. The SpaceX IPO and the AI-1 reveal are not separate events. They are the same event at 2 different layers. The capital formation that makes a capability real and the engineering announcement that shows what the capability looks like. Taken together, they define the orbital compute era, the way the AWS EC2 launch in 2006 defined the terrestrial cloud era. The governance architecture questions that were asked about AWS in 2006 and took 15 years to produce partial answers through the GDPR, the Cloud Act, and the EU AI Act are now arriving for orbital compute in compressed form. The capital has been raised, the hardware design has been revealed, the accountability framework has not been specified. New Zealand organizations, boards and policy practitioners do not need to resolve the accountability gap this week. They do need to understand that the gap exists, that it is architectural rather than administrative, and that the window for establishing governance norms before the orbital compute market matures is shorter than the 15 years terrestrial cloud governance had. Full analysis is in the article linked in the description. Space Mafia, the book this series is drawn from, goes deeper on every framework used today. The link is in the description. See you next. Space AI Monday.
That is the Hamburger Report for today. If this was useful, subscribe and hit the like button. It helps more professionals find the channel. You will find links to everything we covered in the description below. I am Andreas Hamburger, and I will see you tomorrow.
Like and subscribe.